So movies are back in Nashville, and the first one to come to us was The New Mutants, a movie that's been delayed so many different times, and it was made before Disney bought out 20th Century Fox. So what are my thoughts on this movie that's kind of been stuck in limbo, and that may not be relevant for the future of Marvel movies? Let's talk about it. So for those of you who don't know, New Mutants is kind of a different spin of an X-Men movie. It's more horror and thriller. Obviously, the New Mutants are a group of mutants that come kind of after the X-Men have kind of retired. Some have died. Others have, just kind of done other things. So there's kind of a new generation of mutants. Now, my knowledge of New Mutants is kind of minimal. I recognized a couple in the film, not a lot. I'm more in tune with the classic X-Men like Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Iceman, all that kind of stuff. So the main premise of this film, obviously no spoilers in my reviews, but a young girl kind of wakes up in this hospital where a doctor tries to either cure her or kind of figure out, first of all, what her mutant powers are. And there are other groups of kids in this hospital, and it's just them kind of coming to realization that maybe this hospital's haunted because everyone seems to be getting scared, and people's personal demons are kind of being personified, and they're kind of wondering, oh, where's this come from? And the girl, I forget her X-Men name, but I recognized her from the comics and stuff. And the moment I recognized who it was and what her powers are, this movie became super predictable. It doesn't even have that big of a cast to begin with. It has a great cast, but not a big, huge cast. And it takes place in the hospital the entire time. So you can tell this budget for this film wasn't huge. And, it's kind of has a slow start. Kind of understanding who these characters are, where they're coming from, what their powers are. And you got the secret ones that don't want to reveal their powers till later, aka budget cuts. But that's just the way the movie works. So it's a little sluggish in that vibe. And like I said, this movie is trying to take a horror thriller type aspect and X-Men film and flip it on its head. And it kind of does that really well. There are a couple jump scares and kind of, people's fears are kind of all around, like every corner there's something's happening that is pretty creepy. And for someone who's not super into the horror genre, this was scary for me. So, and it wasn't a lot. I mean, obviously I had enough willpower to actually sit through it and watch it. But it wasn't like horror, it wasn't super gory or, a lot of jump scares and evil stuff. But just a little sliver of it, and still keeping that kind of X-Men kind of flavor into it. So there are about two characters that I kind of leaned towards and was like, wow, they have some dope powers, the actor's great, all that kind of stuff. The other character, even the main character, the main girl, I just wasn't motivated to know what happens to her. I kind of had her powers spoiled because I know the comics, and I was just like, whatever. And it was even more irrelevant because Disney bought up 20th Century Fox, so this movie is irrelevant because they're trying to not shoehorn, that's a bad word for this, but they're trying to slowly put mutants into the MCU, and all the X-Men films before that happens are irrelevant. And even as a standalone film, I just didn't enjoy majority of the characters, and that's saying something considering the cast is so freaking small. But like I said, in normal X-Men fashion, there is a big kind of villain at the end. They have to team up and battle together like most X-Men films are. So you have that aspect of it. The stakes weren't really that high. That it's not like they were in the middle of a city and there's people are gonna die if this monster or big old villain or whatever kills them. That to save innocent people, and they have a big team to worry about. I mean, it's like 5 or 6 kids, and they're at this hospital the entire time. So the stakes are very low, And I just, for that reason, I just was like, okay. I mean, the action parts, you know, when people reveal their powers and stuff, are really cool. I just want more of that. Like like I said, it was kind of slow in the beginning, and I get it. We're trying to understand like why we have to care about these characters, but they just don't do it in a very interesting way. You get kind of like little flashbacks here and there, but nothing, not too much character development that I'm like, wow, if this character died, I would cry. You know, like it didn't do it for me. I think the character development was lackluster, and the environment just wasn't big enough. And I know, you know, that's probably because of the budget, but still, like, it didn't do it for me. For that reason, I give New Mutants a 5 or 6 out of 10, if I'm being generous. I will say though, you know, I was hyped, I was excited to go back to the movie theater and see a new movie. So, you know, I was still, you know, kind of having that joy of just sitting down and watching a new movie that I've never seen before. It's been a long time with everything going on in the world. So, you know, I had a great time in that aspect, and it's an entertaining movie. It's not, you know, it's not terrible, but like I said, I expected more from an X-Men movie. But then again, did I? Because this was made before Disney, so I wasn't expecting Disney Marvel greatness. So, New Mutants, it's in theaters now. Let me know what you thought about it in the comics. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Leave a like on this video if you liked anything I had to say. It helps me out a lot. And yeah, I'm so glad movies are back, guys. I'll see you in the next review.